Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Alexandria. I am a registered nurse and a freelance writer, and I am going to be talking today about client contracts. This content is specifically for freelance writers with a background in healthcare or in nursing, for example, and I created this content as a way to help other nurses get into freelance writing and learn more about it. If you like what you hear, please subscribe to this channel for more information and more content. So let's get into it. So client contracts, oof, okay. This is a very tough subject because I don't think a lot of people really spend a lot of time here really thinking about what they sign before they sign it. It's really easy to just kind of scroll through something and say, oh, okay, I'm just going to sign it off. But you are a business owner now. You are a freelance writer who is in charge of everything that you put out there, and your license is attached to everything that you put out. So you want to make sure that you take the time to really understand what is in what you're signing, what is in these contracts. And no two contracts are the same. So it's really important that you take the time to look at the contract. So if I haven't said it already, before you sign a contract, be sure you read that thing. Really important. And this is important because you want to find things like ambiguities. You know, it's really easy for people to say, oh, I had my attorney look at this and we've always used it, and, you know, just go ahead and sign it. What we really mean is, listen, people say a lot of things, and you will find that people are human. They miss stuff all the time, lawyers included. So be sure that you don't necessarily have to have a lawyer look at your contracts, although I think it's a great idea if you do have an attorney on retainer who can look at contracts. I'd say do it. But when we're talking specifically about signing contracts for writing articles for a company, you want to make sure that you take the time yourself as well, you know, beyond anyone else looking at it, that you agree to all of the terms and conditions on there. Okay, so beyond the ambiguities that may come with the contract, you know, there may be some other things that you need to look at, like ownership rights. So when you're writing content and you decide to write for someone, they oftentimes will have a clause in the contract that talks specifically about ownership rights. And in that, they can write whatever they want, meaning that they can take your content that you've given them, that you've written for them after they've paid you, and they can take that content and remix it and edit it and publish it where they want, when they want, how often they want, and there's not much that you can do about it. So be sure that when you are writing content, that you are confident in what you're writing about, that you find yourself as an authoritative voice in that particular subject matter, and you feel confident that the content that you're putting out is thoroughly researched and accurate. As it relates to ownership rights, there may also be something in the clause about where you can publish that information or that article. So you want to be sure that you read these clauses, because you might find yourself publishing an article that you wrote to your website thinking, oh, there's no harm in that. But then the client comes back and says, hey, take this down. And this could be because they've made edits to the article. They may have decided that they didn't want you to get the credit, meaning that they wanted you to ghostwrite for them. Yes, this happens. Ghostwriting is definitely a thing in content writing. It's not a bad thing. It's not as taboo as it may sound or seem to people. It just means that there are clients that you may work for who want the content to look like it's their own and they didn't have any help. And if that's something that does not bother you, doesn't matter. Also, in a contract, does the contract talk about pay schedules. This is really important because I have quite a few of my own experiences where I have worked for major companies and they have done everything but tell me exactly how I'm going to get paid. And yes, I have signed contracts that do not specify exactly how I'm going to get paid. So what have I had to do? I have had to go right back to the editor and say, hey, it's been so many days, so many weeks since I submitted this article. Where do I submit my invoice to? What is the process? When do I get paid? And a lot of the time this can be confusing because when you onboard with a client, especially with a larger corporation, a lot of the time they are already collecting information for a W-9 from you before you even get your assignment. And within that, they're also collecting, a voided check. So they have everything that they need to pay you, but then somehow, some way, they still haven't paid you. Make it make sense. Yeah, it doesn't always. So be sure that you're looking for a pay schedule. And if you don't have one, don't be afraid to ask. It's their job to disclose this information to you before you sign anything. Do not feel obligated to sign something and you don't have all of your questions answered. Another thing, looking at the contract, what are your responsibilities as the writer? So how many assignments are you supposed to be writing, in what time frame, how long are they? Is there a style guide that you must adhere to? What are the responsibilities to you to getting subject matter experts to interview? What are there any sources that you are not allowed to use or not allowed to comment on? These are things that could be and should be in your contract, and even if they're not, some of these things might also be in a style guide too. You can also ask if the client has a style guide before you sign a contract. There's no right or wrong way here of getting all of your information, all of your questions answered before you sign a contract. You also want to really think about, this is, I think, the most important thing when you sign a contract. How does the client make you feel? What I mean by that is, how do they make you feel? Do they make you feel like this is just a contractual obligation, or do they make you feel like they really value you and your work and your time that you're willing to dedicate to promoting their platform by putting your content on it? I think a lot of the time, I don't know if it's just nurses, I don't know if it's freelance writers, but we often don't spend nearly as much time as we should really kind of promoting ourselves and really sticking our chest out and letting people know, I do an amazing job at writing content, and any client that I work with is going to be absolutely blessed and lucky to have me on their team and to have my voice on their platform. And you really need to ask yourself, how does this client make me feel? Do I feel like an important team member, a team, someone who is a part of the team and is heard? If it's just if the relationship is just that of contracts and you have no problem with that, then there's really nothing else to add. But for a lot of us, we really, when we're writing content, it's really important that we land with content that reaches people that we really want to engage and inform. And not every platform is going to be created equally or give you a space to really grow and flourish as a content writer. So I really hope that you are taking all of these things into consideration before you sign a contract, because yes, contracts can be broken, and luckily for you as a freelance writer, as long as there's no date in the contract, you can most likely leave your commitment or exit your relationship with the client sooner rather than later, if that's what you so choose. but you want to spend some time building relationships with clients so that you're not always having to pitch, you're not always having to go and look for new clients. You really want to focus on finding a home for your voice, or homes for your voice. That's it. That's all that I have for today. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe to this channel.